Many of you know Robert Schwinghammer, who worked with NASA many, many years before Bob retired a while back. But he was my boss. He scared me to death. No question about it. But when we had the problem on Skylab, as many of you might remember, the micrometeoroid shield was pulled off. We had an uncontrolled thermal environment inside the Skylab vehicle, and it was unclear whether we'd be able to send crew to orbit, whether we were going to be able to stabilize it. The whole agency got engaged in how do we control that environment, how do we determine what the environment is, how do we get things stabilized, how do we get the crew trained to release the solar panels, how do we get everything put back in place, because so much was riding on Skylab. It was our first real orbital laboratory capability in space. It makes space station look kind of small, I think, but that's what we did back then. But then when everybody was engaged. I got to work one day, and it was not long after this had happened, less than 3 days, I think. And I pulled into the parking lot. Bob Schwinghammer was standing there in front of my car. Oh, what have I done? I slept last night. I didn't do anything bad yesterday. But there he was, and he had this satchel. And he said, "Get back in your car. Here's the satchel. These are test samples for the thermal shield that we want to put out. We're already doing tests in the neutral buoyancy simulator. The crew is there. JFC was working a parasol deployment. Marshall was working a boom deployment. Everybody was working to find something that would make it all happen." So he handed me this bag of stuff, which was basically materials that we wanted to put there, but it had to last through the life of the mission, and that is a severe environment between the vacuum and the thermal. There was no time to develop a specific material for that. So it was looking through what was commercially available, finding it, and then you had to test it. So my job that morning was to take this satchel, go out and get on the government airplane by myself. I was just 9, I think, then. And he said, "You're going to fly to Langley, you're going to fly to Tullahoma, you're going to fly to Goddard, and you're going to go and on the plane, by the way, write up your test program of how this thing needed to be tested. You need to figure out how you're going to accelerate the exposure across the time we need, because if you tested 5 suns, you're going to burn it up, yada, yada, you know." And every test facility had a different capability, and he had a little pamphlet, basically, to tell me what each of those facilities could do. But my job was to go around and get all those guys started on testing. They met me at we were wheels down, met me at the airport. We got on the plane, we all worked out the test programs, laid out a schedule. I got back on the plane, went to the next place. Would we think about doing that today with our GS9 engineers? Would we think that we have enough confidence in them, that we have taught them what they need to know to do that today? It still scares me to death when I think about it, because it wasn't until I got back and the rumor was running around that I had stolen the center director's airplane. And Schwinghammer wasn't going out of his way to tell anybody that that was not the case, because I think he had actually commandeered the airplane. But it was really something to me when I think back on it as to the kind of confidence people had in the individuals and what had gotten us to that point where that confidence was warranted and validated. So I think all the kind of things as we're building on that foundation. We've had wonderful success with the shuttle. It's flown a tremendous number of missions very successfully. We've got the International Space Station up there. We're ready to take the leap off of Earth again with the Ares 1 and the Ares 5. So as we continue this era of exploration and this era of building not just rockets to go to the moon, we're building people. We're building the capabilities to go to the moon and Mars, getting ready to do all of those. Ask yourself, what are you doing to the end effector? What legacy will you leave behind? Are you leaving behind people that are knowledgeable, that can lead, that you have mentored and coached to where they're ready to take on that responsibility? There's no question, but we all stand on the shoulder of giants. You're the next giants, so do it well. Thank you.